As you know, President Biden sat down with President Netanyahu and met with Israelis today in Israel, in Tel Aviv, pledging U.S. support for Israel. I think what was key in those comments, and again, the words are going to have to be backed up by actions, but this whole idea in the last 24 hours, which has set the Arab world on fire, they're kind of waiting for this moment, right, when Hamas would seize on some kind of misinformation to take to the world to say, see, no, it's the Israelis. Ignore what we did, the raping, killing, and hostage taking, and the killing of children that we did 10 days ago. Look, Israel attacked a hospital, killing 500 in Gaza. Well, here's how the New York Times had to report it. First, the New York Times reported as Israeli strike kills hundreds in hospital, Palestinians say. Then they changed the headline again to at least 500 dead in strike on Gaza hospital, Palestinians say. So they take out Israeli strike. And then it's no longer a strike. At least 500 dead in blast at Gaza hospital, Palestinians say. And that's because we now have audio and video that the IDF has released. But this is the moment the world was looking for. When I say the world, places like the United Nations to condemn Israel. The Arab world, who's now rioting outside of our embassies across the world. Fire outside our embassy in Lebanon. They wait for these moments. They canceled the meetings with President Biden, which, by the way, shows you our standing in the world right now. When he flies over, while he's in the air on Air Force One, Jordan says, we're not hosting the meeting with our country's leaders, with Egypt, and with the Palestinian Authority leader, Mahmoud Abbas. That's canceled. Don't come to Jordan. We're not hosting it. All based off of a rocket fired by either Hamas or the Palestinian Islamic Jihad that misfired and killed their own people. Or, that's if you want to believe the best of that story. The worst of that story is they fired the rocket intentionally into those people so that they could try to get away with a story that Israel attacked a hospital.
I tweeted out this morning a warning to be careful when you share New York Times articles, because obviously they need to be fact-checked. The New York Times fell for Hamas's talking points immediately. It's a shameful low point for the New York Times, another low point. But I will say this is, I can't believe that Anthony Blinken is still the Secretary of State. You are supposed to give your president wins in diplomacy. You're supposed to do all of the heavy lifting, work through all the issues, and then the president gets to cross the finish line and, you hand him victories. You have to take the president's vision and be able to run with it and implement and make sure that you have wins. And I just see when the president of the United States boards Air Force One, gets up in the air, and our allies are canceling meetings with him, this is embarrassing for the United States. This is a very low point for the Biden administration.
I think it's time to read the transcript. This is the transcript of the call that was released by the IDF between two Hamas operatives. Operative 1, I'm telling you, this is the first time we see a missile like this falling. And so that's why we are saying it belongs to the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. What? Operative number 2, they're saying it belongs to Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Operative number 1, you mean it's from us? Operative 2, it looks like it. Operative 1, who says this? Operative 2, they're saying that the shrapnel from the missile is local shrapnel and not like Israeli shrapnel. Operative 1, what are you saying? Operative 2, but God bless, it couldn't have found another place to explode. Operative 1, never mind, yes. They shot it from the cemetery behind the hospital. Operative 2, what? Operative 1, they shot it from the cemetery behind the hospital and it misfired and fell on them. Operative 2, there's a cemetery behind it? Yes, it's exactly inside the compound. Operative 2, where is it when you enter the compound? You first enter the compound, don't go toward the city, and it's on the right side of the hospital. I mean, what more evidence do you need? That it was a total lie to the media to believe, one, that the hospital was hit and the building is standing. The solar panels on the hospital were not damaged. Cars in a parking lot were damaged, and there were people there, and there were people killed. But they were killed by a rocket fired by either Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and we have them on the record. We have evidence, CC, that you could submit in court. There's video evidence. You've got the audio evidence. Again, that it was the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, Hamas or the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who have committed a war crime, one, by using a hospital to fire weapons from, and two, have killed their own people.
Absolutely.
So their own people should be dragging them out in the streets, not Israelis.
Absolutely. And you're right. And when you read that transcript, they're talking about their Hamas compound. And they're literally saying, where is this in the compound? Which is admitting to the fact that their Hamas compound intentionally includes a hospital. Right. And the law of armed conflict absolutely makes that illegal. Hamas does nothing but violate the law of armed conflict, and Israel goes out of its way to make sure that it's complying. And yet Israel continues to get painted as the bad guy, even when the facts prove that they are not.
One of my previous roles was I was the head of communications for CBS News. I know exactly how news works. Let me tell you that the mainstream news media have been relying on literal Hamas outlets for their news and information in every respect on what's going on in Gaza. So to start with, they are literally parroting just Hamas propaganda, the same people who visited that genocidal carnage in Israel last week. So you know that it's false. But you're right, George, they've been doing it because they're waiting just to push a narrative that Israel is evil. This would never have been in Israel's interest. Even if you believe that Israel doesn't care about human lives, which means you're not paying attention to anything, it would have been against Israel's interest. Also, I note that no one has said a word about the fact that at least 2 direct missile strikes from Gaza have hit Barzilai Hospital, a hospital in Israel. Not a word by the international media about war crimes. Not a word. But this happens and they pounce. They pounce before knowing anything, literally quoting Hamas.
You know, we have an office in Jerusalem. We have been at international tribunals fighting for Israel. We've been at the UN fighting for Israel. And CC, today and tomorrow, our European team is at the European Union fighting for Israel and the defunding of Hamas.
That's right. The European Union, the European Parliament of the European Union is meeting today. And they were actually debating, and of course, our team from the ECLJ was there. The members of Parliament were debating a motion that deals with this Israeli-Hamas conflict. And we had sent a letter basically claiming or trying to get amendments for the EU to publicly condemn Hamas, to suspend any EU financial support of Hamas, to suspend all EU grants to NGOs linked to Hamas or the Muslim Brotherhood, and to call for the immediate return of all hostages. And currently that debate went well. Two of our suggestions actually got put in the title, were put in the title. The title now for these motions include the condemnation of Hamas, and the title also includes confirming the right for Israel to defend itself. So hopefully the debate, they will actually finalize this language tomorrow, and then they will take a vote on it. So hopefully the EU will come out very strong condemning what Hamas has done and supporting Israel.